Welcome back. Supporters claim ethanol saves energy and burns cleaner, but critics say making ethanol uses more energy than it actually creates. Now, after supporting it for years, lawmakers just voted to stop providing billions to subsidize it. For a fair and balanced debate on all of this, we turn to Tom Pyle, president of the Institute for Energy Research, who's against ethanol subsidies, and communications consultant Karen Nussle, her husband, former Iowa Congressman Jim Nussle, president of a trade association made up of ethanol companies. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Karen, this is an awful lot of money for an inefficient science. $6 billion in annual subsidies. Why should we continue them?
Well, I don't think you can find many people these days who don't think we're too dependent, too dependent on foreign oil. So we have to find some domestic alternatives to sending our money over to Saudi Arabia, and ethanol has to be part of that solution. It may not be the only solution, but it has to be part of it. We already know how to make it. We know how to get it to people. We know that our cars burn it well, and we have consumers that trust it. It has to be part of that solution.
So clearly it is not a perfect science. It is not a perfect technology. Tom, in this era where we have to kick our dependence from foreign oil, should we continue these subsidies? Why or why not?
Absolutely not. I mean, the ethanol lobby has literally been the secretariat of federal lobbying on this issue. They've got a triple crown of subsidies. They've got a mandate that the federal government put on to impose it on us in commerce. And finally, they have tariff protection. You know, they've spent over $50 billion of U.S. money to prop up this industry since its inception of the subsidies.
Okay.
It's absolutely unnecessary. If it's such a great product, why isn't it working in the marketplace? Why do we need all this federal support?
Yeah, many say this is about politics because they want to lock up that Iowa vote. That's why, in particular, right now, no one wants to touch this issue. But the Senate did vote clearly. I think it was 73-27 to reject that. Karen, but most importantly, if this is such a perfect science, if this is the answer to kicking our dependence on foreign oil, shouldn't the free market determine if it's a winner?
Well, we're in support of that. If you watched the debate this week, you saw Senator Thune actually make the argument that we're all for phasing out the subsidy for ethanol, but we have to have a level playing field. I mean, it would be ludicrous for anybody to make the argument that oil and gas aren't getting their own subsidies. Let's have a level playing field and let's let the market decide. We're all for that.
If we kick this $6 billion annual subsidy, Tom, should they first, I guess, kick those tax subsidies and tax loopholes going to the oil and gas industry?
Well, you have to compare apples to apples on that. And we're absolutely for a level playing field for all energy sources. And if all these different sources laid down their arms, so to speak, and volunteered not to take these subsidies and let the market compete, that would be an ideal situation. But the fact of the matter is the subsidies that they call them for oil and gas are actually manufacturing deductions that businesses across the board get, whereas with respect to ethanol, it is a targeted, very specific giveaway to the industry. And that has distorted the market and has artificially created a market for a product that is otherwise inefficient relative to gasoline.
Yeah, it is comparatively inefficient at this point until they perfect that science. Tom Pyle, Karen Nussle, thank you both for being with us bright and early. Folks, we want to hear from you. Let us know how you feel about these ethanol subsidies at FF Weekend on Twitter.